Hi, I'm Bjorn, and welcome back to the third act of Justice League Dark. This is one I'm really excited for. When I first envisioned this movie, this third act is what I started with and worked backwards to make the beginning. It's got a lot of connections to some of my previous stuff. There's a lot of fun payoffs I don't even think some of y'all are expecting. I think you might be surprised by how long I have been planning this particular thing. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Let's start with the script. We pick up right where we left off. Xanadu looks at the map and translates it. She says, South America. The Dawn Spear is in South America. Zatanna says, I'll need more than that to get us there. Xanadu says, the map gives specific coordinates. We see her writing down coordinates on a piece of paper. She hands it to Zatanna. Xanadu asks, can you get us here? Zatanna says, yes. She opens a door, and we see the Justice League Dark all exit. They step out of the door in the middle of a jungle. Before them is a massive Mayan temple. Dorothy asks, the spear isn't there? And Xanadu says, don't you feel the magic in the air? It's here. Only the Dawn Spear could create such an effect. We're going to cut to Nick Necro's library. We see Nick and Element Woman enter through the ring portal. Element Woman falls to her knees and cries. She says, they killed Mind Warp, Dad. Necro slaps her. Do not call me that. I am not your father, regardless of what your whore of a mother says. How many times do I have to tell you? Element Woman begins to cry louder. I'm sorry. They killed him. She begins to sob. Nick Necro's eyes soften. He says, oh, Emily. I was too harsh. You know how I feel about your mother, but you have been loyal, a staunch ally. And Mind Warp is not dead. Not really. With the Dawn Spear, I will bring him back for you. Death will bow to our will. We will be gods. He reaches out a hand and wipes away her tears. That is the power of the Dawn Spear. Element Woman says, good. Then she stops and stares at something beyond Nick. She begins to tremble with fear. He looks at her confused. What is it? Another fit? Element Woman doesn't respond. She just begins to whisper, he knows. He knows, he knows. He sees. He gets what he wants. He knows, he knows. Necro shakes his head. He doesn't know. Whoever he is, they don't know. You're all right. Just having another episode. Element Woman rolls into a ball and calms down. She whispers, you're wrong this time. He knows. Necro sighs. He hands her the map leading to the Dawn Spear. He says, translate it, and I will use the power of the Dawn Spear to bring Mind Warp back from the dead for you. We are so close to everything we've ever wanted. All we have to do is seize it. And for that I need you. Please, focus, Emily. She nods and takes the map. We cut back to the Justice League Dark. We see them enter the temple. As they step forward, the stone walls begin to descend into darkness. A staircase seems to lead down under the ground. They go down further and further until darkness completely swallows them. Then, in the air in front of them, a man appears, transparent and glowing. He's an illusion. We can see that he's a wizard, in some kind of like fantastical clothing. You just sort of picture something like that. I don't know. I'd let a costume designer gonna go crazy. The illusion of the wizard smiles. He holds out his hands in greeting. He says, welcome, travelers. Do you seek the spear? Xanadu says, we do. The wizard says, that is well, traveler, and it will be yours if you can pass one final test. Xanadu says, you are Midas, king of the Magi, aren't you? Midas says, in a sense. I am an illusion left behind by the original. I have his thoughts and his memories to a point. But no, I am not him. Not really. Xanadu nods as if that makes sense. Then we will take your test. The other members of Justice League Dark all nod their approval. Midas holds up a finger. He says, first,
To take the test, you must understand how the Dawn Spear came to be. The story began when I left England to come to this new world. The Magi had only just discovered it. I came here seeking magic beyond my knowledge. I wanted to learn more to grow. Think of it. Magic here was unlike anything in Europe, formed from the ground up, wholly independently from our own Magi. The longer I stayed in this new world, the more I grew to love it. Eventually, I settled down and made a family. We see illusions appear in the air of Midas with a young family. I was happy, and then my visions of the future began. I had seen the future before, but not like this. Never like this. The visions were clear and always the same. I saw my people suffer and die at the hands of the Spaniards. The future that would come to pass. We see the visions begin to play out in front of them. We see conquistadors riding down with swords and guns, slaying the Inca and the Mayans in thousands. Midas continues. For years the visions hounded me. I saw what was to come for the people I loved. I saw the Spanish descending on our lands like locusts. I saw our great cities abandoned, lost to new plagues brought by the invaders. Death rode on a pale horse for my people, and I would not allow it. So I made the spear to change their fate. It was inherently unstable. Such was the magic needed to change the future. I forged its magic by pulling power from the multiverse. Just a little magic from every conceivable universe. I took it and I focused it into one particular object. A spear made with love. Magic that should not mix was forced to bow by my raw will. It was a power beyond imagining, but it was too dangerous. I should have seen it, yet my visions of the future blinded me. I used the spear to try to fix it all, to change the future. A foolish notion. And when I held that spear, I wished for wealth for my people. I wished for them to have gold. The darkness disappears, and for the first time we can see a massive city hidden underneath the jungle. Giant pyramids rise all around them. And one single massive pyramid lies in the center of them all. Each and every one of them is made of solid gold. The streets, trees, grass, plants, all of it solid gold. Constantine says, "It's bloody El Dorado." Midas says, "That is what they call it now, in legend. The City of Gold." The gold I spread with the Dawn Spear consumed the entire city. Men, women, children, even my own wife and child. While he speaks the dialogue, we see people running in fear all throughout the city. They're frozen in gold, and as they are, we see the real frozen golden people appear, still trapped in their original positions as solid gold. Midas says, "It was pure hubris to think I could control such power as the Dawn Spear. I knew it was too dangerous to ever be used again, but I couldn't bring myself to destroy it. It was my greatest accomplishment, the single most incredible piece of magic ever forged by the hands of the Magi people. So I hid the spear and left the maps. I made challenges designed to wheedle out those too weak to do what had to be done. I hoped whoever followed them would have the strength of character to give up such power and destroy the spear once and for all. The final test is simple. Answer my question truthfully. Will you destroy the Dawn Spear without ever using its power?" Constantine steps forward. "We will." The illusion looks at him intensely, then leans back with a smile. He laughs jovially. "You speak the truth. Very well. I shall lift the veil. The spear is yours to destroy. Make haste, heroes, but be warned. The spear has a way of worming into your mind. If you give it even the slightest bit of doubt, it will consume you." As the veil lifts, we see the Dawn Spear atop the tallest pyramid. A halo of colorful energy levitates around it. Madame Xanadu says, we have to hurry. Necro will be here any time. Constantine says, you don't have to tell me twice. Our heroes rush towards the pyramid as fast as they can, but they're too slow. We see Necro and Element Woman appear from a portal ring behind them. Constantine yells, we've got company. We can see that Constantine and Dr. Mist are ahead of the rest of the pack. They're closest to the pyramid. Xanadu makes his decision. Constantine, Mist, you two get the spear. We'll hold off Necro. John nods and continues rushing towards the pyramid. Shade, Dorothy, Zatanna, and Xanadu turn to fight. When Necro sees them, he becomes angry. How are you here? Like cockroaches. The Dawn Spear is mine. I've given you enough chances to survive. It comes to blood. His shirt burns away in blue fire, revealing the pentagram carved into his chest. Now you die. He slams his fist into the ground, and a giant fissure opens up like a chasm. Red fire glows from it, and we see demons and imps of hell climb out of it in the hundreds. So for the next chunk of 10 minutes of the movie, it'll be solid action. We'll see kinds of crazy spells from Xanadu. Dorothy will try to use her imaginary friends to fight the demons. I'm not going to cover too much of it because it would just be repetitive. Like, she shoots a magic blast, he shoots a magic blast. Shade uses the katana from Katana to slice demons. I'm going to very briefly describe some of the action, but just imagine there's a lot more than what I'm saying here. And for the sake of brevity, I'm not going to describe action. It doesn't quite work in this format anyway. But you can imagine it would be really cool in a film. We'll see Shade use his katana to split apart demons. Occasionally, he throws magic blasts from his hands using the Madness Vest. But the demons are overwhelming our heroes. The more they overwhelm him, the more magic Shade uses. Suddenly, the demons begin to change. They start to look like rotting nightshades. Shade screams as they surround him. He falls to his knees and magic pours off his vest. He fires out a ring of magical energy that splits 10 demons in half. Above him, a cloud of magical energy forms. In its swirling mass, we can see random monsters and fears being formed and destroyed. We see glimpses of some man we don't know. We see Candlemaker. We see a quick image of Zatanna's mother, burning alive. Scenes from Shade's own life begin to play out in the clouds. Scenes we've seen before. Probably the destruction of Meta, his madness, his time in the insane asylum, all sort of swirl in the images of the clouds. Recreating this incredible image from the Justice League Dark Comics. I had to get this scene in here somewhere. Zatanna looks over at him as she battles her own demons. What's wrong with him? Xanadu says, he's gone mad. The monstrous shapes continue to pour off Shade's Madness Vest. He falls to his knees and screams. We see Element Woman approach him. Her hand grows into a stone axe. It drags across the floor, sending up sparks. His magical blasts hit her, but bounce off her stone skin. Zatanna sees what's going to happen. We have to help him. Xanadu says, no. The madness already has him. This is what he would have wanted. Zatanna looks horrified. You're going to let him die? Xanadu says, he made me swear. We see Element Woman approach Shade. He looks her in the eyes and with his last lucid moment whispers, please. She lifts her axe high above and brings it down into Shade's chest. Blood flows around it and Shade slumps to the floor. The swirling madness around him vanishes. We see the moving shapes on his vest gradually grow still. Shade is dead. That's it, boys. First one of the episode. I did the funny. As I often do. Xanadu says, goodbye, changing man. Recreating that same panel. I love that line. I think it's iconic. She focuses back on the battle. The demons are swarming the pyramid. Zatanna, try get there and help John. Hold them off long enough for them to reach the top. Zatanna nods and begins to fight through the horde to reach John. We can see the demons are beginning to climb the pyramid. Ahead of them, we see John and Dr. Mist climbing the pyramid. Demons are flowing behind them like ants. One reaches for John and grabs his legs. John twirls his holy shotgun from his duster and shoots it. The demon turns to ash. There's still too many of them, and they're growing close. But so is Constantine. He's very near the Dawn Spear, just within grasp. When Dr. Mist touches his shoulder, John, let me have it. John looks at him with confusion. Why? Dr. Mist says, because I need the Dawn Spear, John. John shakes his head. No, I don't think I'm going to let you have it. Dr. Mist says, you know who I am. I've lived 100 lifetimes. I've trained each of them to kill, John. Don't make me kill you. I just want one wish, and then I will destroy it. But I will not back down. Constantine says, "Are you bloody listening to yourself? Xanadu told us that if the spear gets used, that's it. Apocalypse and all that. You don't want that." Dr. Mist looks at him and shakes his head. "The future is set, John. There's no changing it. I told Xanadu that when she first approached me. My one goal in this was to keep me and mine safe. The only way to do that is the Dawn Spear. This is what I've been after all along. I knew you wouldn't understand, but please, at least understand this. I have to make that wish, and I will kill you if you get in my way." Constantine shakes his head. "It doesn't matter. I have to stop you." Dr. Mist says, "So be it." They begin to fight. We're going to cut to Xanadu. She fights off hordes of demons, and then suddenly stops. Her eyes go pale white. She's seeing another vision of the future. Around her, magic swarms, killing demons all around her. We cut to her vision. We see the pyramids of bodies once more, intercut with footage. We occasionally see flashes of someone smiling. We don't know who it is. We see a man weaving 2 pieces of fabric into a large quilt. In its center, we see a pattern of a man surrounded by swirling colors. We hear a voice. "The future, son. This man will rule the world. It is the future that he brings. He brings change." We see a quick flash of someone holding the Dawn Spear, surrounded by color. We can't see who it is, though. They're completely covered in bright light. Words echo around Xanadu. "You can't change it. It's set in stone." Again, we see the pyramid of bodies. We see Zatanna with blood flowing from her neck. Dorothy, holes punctured all around her body. Xanadu's own body has been decapitated, her head rolled separately from her body. And Shade's body, with a large wound in his chest. "You can't change it," the voices echo again. "It is set in stone." Xanadu finds herself in the streets of Metropolis. We see Zatanna and Constantine surrounded by the tall buildings of the city. We see the Daily Planet. People are running in the opposite direction in panic. Zatanna looks around her, horrified. "We have to save them," Constantine says. "It's already too late for them, Z. You saw it. Their fates are sealed. We have one choice, and it's to save ourselves. Z, we don't have another option." He spins a portal ring on the floor, and the two of them step into it. Shortly after, shadows pour across the streets and consume everything. It's the living shadow, once again free from the shadow dimension. This is the same vision Xanadu saw in Suicide Squad 4. Xanadu turns to the waking world. Her vision ended. Demons begin to swarm her, but she's come to a realization. "Oh God, I had never changed it." She never undid the vision of the shadow. She just assumed. That future has yet to pass. The realization comes too late. We see one of the demons swing its axe and take her head off. We see it fall to the floor, followed by her body. Behind her, we see Dorothy barely fighting for her life. Her imaginary friends appear in the air all around her. We see Acid, fully manifested, shooting his acid guns at demons. It melts their flesh. Jolly Hanger slices demons apart with the clothes hangers, and the big cartoon octopus smashes demons apart. But there's too many of them. They're swarming around all her imaginary friends like ants, running to get to Dorothy. We see Acid dive in the way of a spear meant for Dorothy's heart. It catches him in the chest, and he falls to the ground dead. He vanishes into a puff of smoke. The friend she created as her father figure, gone. We're going to cut to the pyramid. We see Mist and John fighting. Constantine says, "What is it that you want so badly?" He throws a fireball and it slams into Mist. It burns his skin. We see the burns begin to heal as Mist absorbs the magic. Green smoke begins to fall off his body. "I will bring my wife back and make myself mortal. Then I will destroy the spear. Step aside, Constantine. It is mine." He launches a bolt of lightning from his hand, and it slams into Constantine, who's sent back a few feet. He catches himself on the stones. Constantine cries, "The dead are gone. We have to move on, or it'll eat you up inside. You're letting your grief win. You're stronger than that, Mist. I know it. You've lived 1,000 lifetimes, yet you're still blind to it." Mist shakes his head. "You won't change my mind, John. My wife meant everything to me. He fires a blast of lightning again, and it strikes John. He rolls further down the pyramid. Constantine catches himself on a stair and pulls himself up. Demons start to attack him. John arches lightning off himself and kills the demons. Then he rushes towards Dr. Mist and tackles him just as he reaches for the Dawn Spear. Dr. Mist says, "Why won't you just let me have it?" He pins John down and begins to punch him over and over again. Blood runs down John's face. John kicks him in the balls and pins him down and yells, "Is this what you would have wanted? What would your wife say if she could see you now?" Mist says, "Nothing, because she's dead. She's not here anymore." Constantine punches Mist again and breaks his nose, but we see it start to heal. Constantine will never win this fight. Constantine says, "You have to let them go. Live for the living. You have a family, right? What about them? You take that Dawn Spear and they die. Xanadu saw it." Mist says, "Don't." Constantine says, "They'll die, Mist. You know it. What Xanadu saw coming to pass is already happening. Look." John points. Mist turns and looks, and for the first time sees what's happening on the ground. He sees Xanadu's body and Shade's corpse. Dorothy's imaginary friends are trying to keep her alive, but they're failing. A demon throws a pitchfork and it catches in Dorothy's legs. She screams in pain and falls to her knees. We see Candlemaker crawl out of the floor in front of her. He fights off demons, but they're overwhelming him. Mist sees Dorothy crying and afraid. It pulls him back to reality. Pulls him back away from his desperation for the Dawn Spear. John tries one more time. "Please. I can't help them. But you can. You gotta let go or they're gonna die." Mist lets go of Constantine's neck and gives him a nod. He says, "Charge me." John nods. He fires lightning into Mist. Mist screams as his body is burnt and electrified. We see green mist begin to pour off him. There's more of it than we've ever seen. Mist says, "Get me to her." Constantine says, "It's going to hurt." Mist says, "Just do it before I change my mind. And make sure you destroy that spear." John casts a spell and it launches Mist. He lands on the floor in front of Dorothy hard. We see that his arms and legs are broken. They slowly twist together and begin to heal. He stands to his feet. Mist screams and unleashes lightning from all across his body. It moves between hundreds of demons that are pouring out of the crack and bounces between them, frying them. He continues to fight demons that are overwhelming him. We see John climbing towards the Dawn Spear. Demons are pouring all around his legs. He kicks at them and launches magic. Mist continues to fight demons, but there are too many. One of them puts a spear through his leg and into the floor. He tries to pull it free, but before he can, another demon pins in his arm. They begin to impale him with spears all over, sticking him to the floor. He can't move, and he's run out of magic. We see a demon approaching Dorothy. Mist screams and thrashes, but can't get free. The demon sticks Dorothy through with a pitchfork. She wails and falls to the ground, dying. The demon laughs and lifts her up like a broken toy. It throws her aside. We see blood pooling beneath her as she dies. Her imaginary friends all vanish. We see Zatanna working her way towards John. She meets Nick Necro in the crowd of demons. Nick snaps a finger and the demons all swarm away, disappearing, leaving only him and Zatanna. Nick says, "Zatanna Zatoro, great magician. Why don't you support me? You know what I say is correct. We are the next step. This fight is pointless. It goes against everything we stand for." Zatanna says, "You're wrong, Nick. This isn't right, and I won't let you have that spear." Nick says, "Then you'll die." He snarls and starts to fight Zatanna with new ferocity. They blast spells back and forth, but Nick is dominating her. He forms a sword in his hand. It glows with magic. He smiles. Zatanna begins to form lightning from her hands and zaps Nick. He catches it on the blade of the sword. Lightning surrounds it, and then it dissipates, launching into the ground. Nick launches into the attack once more. We see John at the very top of the pyramid. He at last reaches the Dawn Spear. He grabs a hold of it. Nothing happens. The color around him vanishes. Only a spear remains in his hand, but we can see it hums with power. John has to choose to use its power. Nick spots that he has it and screams out to him as he fights Zatanna. "John! Bring that spear to me!" John turns with the Dawn Spear clutched in his hands. For the first time, he sees the true extent of what's happened. He sees Dorothy's dying body, and he sees Nick fighting Zatanna. Nick says, "She won't win this fight. I'm far too powerful. The blood of Nergile, the whore killer, runs in my veins. Just like you, John. You destroy that spear, and I'll kill her." Zatanna says, "Don't listen. I can win. Destroy it, John, please." As she says it, we see Nick Necro land a strike with his sword. He cuts Zatanna across the shoulder, but she's still fighting, using all of her magic, every trick, spell after spell, each unique and different. John looks at the spear. It's so much power in his hands. He could fix it all, save them all. His mother, his father, his friends, his teammates. He could put an end to Nick Necro once and for all. He could make the world a better place. A perfect place. We see the colorful fragments of the spear's power begin to reflect in his eyes. Then Zatanna's voice cuts through it. "John, destroy it. You swore. You have to let go. For me." All that grief swells inside John. But he knows she's right. It's the only way to save the world. It's the only way for him to move on. Yet still, so much power at his fingertips. He could change so much. He shifts his eyes to look at Zatanna instead, and the reflected color vanishes from his eyes. He knows he has to destroy it. He has to move on from the people he's lost, from his grief. John overcomes his past. Nick laughs. "You really have changed, John. Even a month ago, you would have already used it for yourself." Zatanna throws a spell, and Nick swats it away like an insect. And then he slides forward and plants his sword deep in Zatanna's throat. Her eyes light up with surprise as blood leaks from her neck. Nick flicks his blade out and throws her body to the floor. Blood forms a large puddle inside of her. She begins to spasm. We see a shot of each of the Justice League Dark's bodies lined up beneath the pyramid, with John standing at the top. John says, "No!" Nick says, "But I know how to break you. You can still save her. Just give me the spear. I'll bring her back. Hell, use it yourself. Just don't destroy it. Don't waste its magic. It's our future, John. The future of all Magi." Zatanna's dying eyes meet him. They plead with him not to do it, but John doesn't listen. Nick broke him. He can't afford to lose her. He can't be alone again. A single worm of doubt slides into his mind, and the spear takes hold. He holds it high above him and begins to float over the pyramid. Colorful light surrounds him in a circle. His body pulses with it. Suddenly, in a burst of color, Zatanna is no longer dead. She's unharmed, standing where she was before. It was as if she was never stabbed in the first place. Dorothy appears next to her. No wound marks on her body, not even a drop of blood on her shirt. John's altering reality to undo their deaths. Nick Necro laughs with joy. "It's incredible. The power of a god." The camera zooms into Eloquent Woman. Her eyes grow wide. She says, "He knows." We see the spear in detail. Bright red cracks begin to split across it. John doesn't notice. The colorful energy from it is spreading all across the long chamber. It's climbing everything and coating it in flickering color. John levitates higher off the floor. His duster is billowing in the wind. The giant gold pyramid shatters as large cracks run down from John. His eyes begin to flicker with color as he's completely consumed by it. The power of the spear is eating him alive. The musical score reaches a fever pitch. I assume I'd have some sort of musical score for the Dawn Spear, like a motif, something like the One Ring theme in Lord of the Rings. Since this is an object that gets into your mind and gives you extreme power, I think a really sinister score would be kind of nice. Zatanna, freshly alive, says, "No, John, destroy it! Stop!" But John doesn't hear her. We see colorful cracks of light begin to appear across his face. He doesn't even seem to notice Zatanna's words. He only has eyes for the spear. There's one thing he's always wanted, the thing that would spare him so much of his pain. He would finally be able to let people in if only there was one thing. He whispers his last wish. No more death. Nick cries, "No, that's too much. You'll ruin it." Nick is right. The spear begins to shake with magic. It tries and fails to grant Constantine's wish to make there never be death again. But the magic is not enough, and it begins to run wild. It pours from the spear in a never-ending wave. Cracks grow deeper across John's body and wider. When it looks like John will be ripped apart, the spear gives. It shatters into a spiraling pattern of bright, colorful light, which coats the screen. The screen is split by three distinct lines. In them, we see the portraits of the Justice League Dark members, split apart in different groups. And then, darkness. We see Zatanna and John wake up on concrete in an alley. They both sit up. Zatanna looks around confused. She says, "John, what did you do?" Constantine says, "What I had to." Zatanna says, No, you shouldn't have used it. This is what we were trying to prevent." John says, "I wasn't going to let you die, Z. Fuck that." Zatanna says, "We can fight about this later." "Where are we?" Constantine looks around. "It looks like we're in Metropolis." Zatanna says, "Yeah." We hear a scraping sound from the rooftop. Zatanna and John both look up and see Green Arrow standing there. Constantine says, "Ah, great. It's Robin Hood the wanker." Zatanna says, "Be nice, John." "Oliver." I'm relieved to see a friendly face. "We need your help." Green Arrow looks confused. He says, "Zatanna?" Zatanna says, "Yes, it's me. Look, we were somewhere else and something bad happened. Something terrible." She stops talking when Green Arrow draws his bow back with an arrow knocked. She says, "What are you doing, Oliver?" He says, "I'm pretty sure you're not Zatanna. And I know for a fact that he is not John Constantine, because I put an arrow in John's heart myself and killed the bastard dead." Constantine says, "Can't argue with that foolproof logic. Well, actually, small counterpoint, you bloody didn't." Zatanna says, "Something's not right." Constantine says, "Yeah, no kidding." Green Arrow says, "Enough talking. I'll give you two options. Surrender and get on your knees, or I'm going to put an arrow in your neck. I already killed you once, John. I'll do..." A hand bursts through Green Arrow's chest. We see his heart squeezed tightly in it. The hand slips back through his chest, and Green Arrow falls to the alley below. He splatters, leaving blood across the walls. For the first time, we see Flatline standing behind where Green Lantern was. Her hand covered in blood, his heart still held in it. Only she doesn't look right. She looks different. Her hair has changed, and there's a large scar running across her face. Zatanna says, "Oh shit, he's dead." Suddenly, from a puddle on the floor, we see a man appear. He's dressed in green and yellow. It's Mirror Master. He says, "What did you do, Nakia? You killed him." Flatline says, "I saved your little buddies. Thanks to me, Green fucking Arrow won't hurt anyone else. I'm doing what we have to, playing by their rules." Mirror Master says, "We talked about this." Flatline says, "You talked. I disagreed. I killed him because he deserved it. You know what he is." Constantine says, "Seeing how he was about to kill us, I'm okay with that. Anyone care to explain what the bloody hell is going on?" Mirror Master shakes his head. "No time for that now. I don't know how you came here, but they'll be coming in full force now. We have to go." Zatanna says, "Where?" Mirror Master says, "Follow me." We're going to cut to Xanadu and Shade. We see them waking up on the floor of a jungle. Shade stands up, and so does Xanadu. They look around and are immediately met with something concerning. A large metal street sign labeling Gotham roads, covered in thick jungle vines. Sitting on the ground in front of it is Element Woman. She rocks back and forth. She says, "He knows. He knows. Oh God, he knows. He plans this. He knew." Shade starts to pull his katana from his sheath, but Xanadu stops him. "Look at her. She's no threat to us now." We hear a voice in the jungle somewhere. "The power source was detected here, and then proximity alarms were triggered. There's someone here." Suddenly, 3 gorillas burst through the jungle and surround them. They each carry machine guns. One of the gorillas says, "Holy shit, they're humans." The second gorilla says, "Grodd will want to see them." The first gorilla asks, "Do they speak?" Xanadu says, "We do." The third gorilla says, "Silence! You are under arrest by command of King Grodd. You are under arrest by the command of Grodd, King of New Gorilla City." Shade whispers, "We could fight." Xanadu says, "No. We go with them, willingly." Xanadu kneels to the ground. Shade follows her leads. The gorillas carefully move towards them and then slap them in handcuffs. They also grab Element Woman, who doesn't even fight back, and put her in handcuffs. Shade says, I hope you know what you're doing, Xanadu. Xanadu says, I do. Now, I'd like to point out, about, 6 months ago, 5 months ago, I put in my Discord server that I was going to have gorillas and Mirror Master in this movie, and everyone told me I was lying. How do you guys like it, huh? I have never once lied in my life. I always tell the truth. I told you exactly how this movie was going to end months ago, and not a single person believed me. So now y'all have egg on your face. Just saying. We're going to cut back to Zatanna and Constantine. Mirror Master leads them quickly through an alley and out onto the main street. We see the skyrise of Metropolis, only it's different. Where the LexCorp building should be, we see a building labeled Kent Corp. We see a large billboard that says, The Legion of Evil is watching, with a large eye. Zatanna says, this is bizarre. This isn't our Earth. We see text on screen that says, Inverse Earth, Earth 549. Mirror Master leads them into a public bathroom. He rushes to the large mirror and touches it. The mirror forms into a kaleidoscope, then opens up into a doorway. He says, quickly! He steps into the portal, followed by Flatline. Constantine spares one look for Zatanna, then shrugs. He enters the mirror. Zatanna follows him. They pass through a tunnel of twisting reflections that look almost like a funhouse. In some of the reflections, we see different scenes playing out. In one, we see Constantine choking Zatanna to death. He laughs as he does it. In another, we see Zatanna murder Flatline. And some of them, they have different shirts or clothes, or missing limbs. Zatanna says, what is this? Mirror Master says, this is the Mia dimension, a realm of twisted reflections. What you see is not reality. It is only a reflection of what could be. We use it to cross space quickly. They reach the end of the tunnel and step out into a large concrete hall. On the opposing wall, we see a large mural painted. It depicts various characters. We can see Reverse Flash, Batman, Joker, Cheetah, Metallo, and Chemo, to name a few. The alternative version of Flatline lingers on the painting of Chemo. She runs a longing hand across it. We can see her eyes are filled with sadness. Zatanna says, who are they? Mirror Master says, those who lost their life in pursuit of a better world. We keep their dreams alive by fighting. I just wish we could do more for them than a mural. Constantine says, who are you guys? Mirror Master says, we're what's left of the Justice League. The only ones left to fight the tyranny of evil that has risen in this world. This is our Hall of Justice. The others will be ahead. We're going to cut to Xanadu and Shade. They're tossed into a cage and the door is slammed. One of the apes says, Grodd, we'll see you tomorrow, humans. They leave. Element Woman just continues to rock in the corner of the cage. She whispers, he knows, he's coming for us. Both Shade and Xanadu ignore her. Shade says, my Madness Fest is functioning again, like it had never had any issue. But I am unable to cast magic. I don't understand. Xanadu says, we're in the wrong universe, wrong magic. I'm attempting to alter my own spells to accommodate the change. We see Xanadu attempting to cast magic. She fails a few times before she finally succeeds. We hear her thinking aloud. She says, Zatanna, can you hear me? Don't speak. I don't know your current situation. Simply think of a reply. We cut to Zatanna walking down the concrete hall. She hears the message. She looks confused for a second, then seems to understand. She thinks back. Xanadu, yes, I hear you. What have you done? Xanadu says, I created a remote psychic connection between us, spanning across multiverses. We can hear each other's thoughts for as long as I keep the link active. I don't know how long I can maintain the connection. Zatanna says, something went wrong. We're not in the right place. This isn't our world. Xanadu says, it seems when the Dawn Spear shattered, the magical energy taken from the multiverse spread around us. We were spent out into the multiverse. Zatanna says, that would explain why Green Arrow tried to kill me. This place is bad, Xanadu. I don't know what it is with this world, but it is very wrong. Xanadu says, the dimension we're in isn't much better. Are Dorothy and Dr. Mist with you? Zatanna says, no, I thought they were with you. Xanadu shakes her head. Xanadu says, they must have gotten sent separately from us. I'll try to reach out to them. She makes a face and then says, that's strange. Zatanna asks, what? Xanadu says, I can't find them. They're not in any universe my mind can see. Zatanna asks, then where are they? We're going to cut to Dorothy and Dr. Mist. We see Dorothy on the stone floor. She looks up through blurry eyes and awkwardly stands to her feet. Her vision clears and we can see the room they're in for the first time. It's the one in her dream. The same one Xanadu saw in her visions of the future. The floors are made of white stone. Torches burn on pillars lining the room. Beyond them, darkness surrounds the room. Swaying chains hang from the ceiling. A giant glass window overlooks a throne. Behind it is pitch blackness. On a small table, an old record player sits. We see Dr. Mist sit up from the floor in front of her. He turns to look at Dorothy. "Are you okay? I saw you die." Dorothy says, "I don't know what happened. I think I died. It was cold." Dr. Mist says, "I wouldn't know. But you're fine. I'm going to keep you safe." Dorothy says, "Where are we?" "I've been here before." Dr. Mist asks, "When?" Dorothy says, "In my dreams or nightmares." Dr. Mist asks, "The ones you told Zatanna about?" Dorothy nods. We hear Nick Necro. You idiots ruined everything!" We see Nick standing from the floor in front of Dorothy and Mist. He was brought with them. "I know I can't kill you, Mist, so I'll gut you and make you watch as I kill that girl. I'll tear her apart, peel her skin from her flesh." Mist moves to block Dorothy from Necro. "I won't let you touch her." Necro says, "Adorable. Even you, the mighty Dr. Mist, can't stop me now. The blood of Nergile runs in my veins. I am a god even among the Magi. I should be king." We see chains connected to hooks begin to slither down from the ceiling behind Necro. He doesn't notice. He's too distracted. In one swift motion, they sink into his skin. He lets out a scream as the chains lift him up into the darkness above. His screams go fainter and fainter. Suddenly, blood begins to rain down, followed by Necro's arm. It's completely removed from his body. Dorothy whimpers, and Mist holds her tight. Suddenly, the record player on the table drops its needle. We hear the song, "Dream a Little Dream of Me," begin to play. Dorothy starts to tremble. "It's coming." Mist asks, "What is?" Dorothy says, "The thing beneath us. The upside down man. He lives in my dreams." Mist says, "One of your imaginary friends?" Dorothy shakes her head and says, "No." We hear echoing laughter fill the hall. The upside down man says, "I knew you would come, Avatar of Light. I called for you and you answered. I knew you were different from the others. I'm sorry that little heathen threatened you before. I hadn't intended for anyone else to join us." We hear the sound of rattling chains from above. It almost sounds like something is climbing down them, scurrying across the chains. Mist says, "I'm warning you. Come near the girl, and you'll wish you were dead." Upside Down Man says, "Dr. Mist, you weren't supposed to be here. A little mistake. Unlike the last one, I have no problem with you. Leave the girl and return home to your family. Don't make me hurt you." A small circular portal opens up in front of Mist. Dr. Mist says, "You think threats will work on me? You couldn't kill me if you tried. I won't leave the girl." Dorothy is clinging to him now. Upside Down Man says, "You're right, Mist. Even I can't kill you. You're special like that. A rare thing. But I don't have to kill you. All I have to do is scatter the parts." Mist's eyes go wide as chains begin to hook into his skin. He screams and is hoisted up into the air by his arms and legs and head. The chains continue to stick in all around him until his body is literally ripped apart into pieces. Dorothy screams as blood coats the chains and the floor. We hear echoing laughter continue. Each of Mist's body parts are lifted into the darkness above. He's completely ripped apart. Upside Down Man says, "I think I'll scatter these across the multiverse. You may not be dead, but you might as well be, never able to heal yourself fully. You're gone, Mist." Dorothy takes a step back as the chains lower from the ceiling once more. They each drip with blood. Her dream is coming true. The scraping, scuttling noise grows louder. We hear the voice, louder, echoing around the room. "Avatar of Light, I am sorry for all this bloodshed. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I wanted this to go differently. But I've wanted to meet you for such a long time." Chains begin to sway, and a figure comes into view. He lowers down on a chain hanging upside down. Only his smile is right side up. Large, sharp teeth fill his mouth, and he has no eyes, only skin. He looks like he does in the comic books, picture here. Dorothy says, "Back off. I can make my friends hurt you. Upside Down Man laughs. Oh, Dorothy, you aren't the only ones with imaginary friends. I have them too. So many. We're alike in that way. Suddenly the darkness around her begins to light up with red eyes. We see Upside Down Man take a seat on the throne of stone in front of the large glass window. Dorothy says, "What are you?" Upside Down Man says, "I'm just like you, only upside down. I'm the reflection of your power, the dark formed by your light, the yin to your yang, if you prefer. We've actually met before. Well, you met a part of me. One of my little imaginary friends." He holds a hand out, and the shadowed darkness between the pillars flows towards it, as if it's alive. The darkness all around Dorothy begins to move on its own. Even beyond the glass window, the darkness shifts. Upside Down Man says, "I believe you've met the living shadow before. One of my favorite creations. It was my first imaginary friend. It kept me company in the solitude of desolation. Before your creator did." Dorothy says, It's you. You sent that." Upside Down Man laughs. He says, "We have so much to talk about, Avatar of Light. Much to discuss." The song playing from the record player begins to change. We hear Somewhere Beyond the Sea begin to play. The camera zooms out until it leaves the room. We're met with nothing but shifting darkness. The camera continues to move out until we can see Earth completely covered in shadow, and a sun that looks like an eclipse as darkness surrounds it. Text on screen says Earth -2, aka the Shadow Dimension. Alright, how about that, guys? That's the end of the movie. As the credits play, we hear the song Abracadabra. I've got it in the playlist. You can listen to it. It's a great little song. A return of the Shadow Dimension, plot twist involving what Xanadu saw, a connection to Suicide Squad 3. Obviously, the dimension that Zatanna and Constantine are in is the one that Superman and the Evil Justice League came from in 3. Also, Crazy Quilt's vision of the future wasn't about opening that portal, it was about activating the Dawn Spear. So we've got all of the plot threads I've built up and all my DC stuff coming together. The next 2 Justice League Dark movies will tie together all of the world building I've done. Obviously, you thought Nightshade was bad. Upside Down Man is much worse. We've seen this movie, they fought Necro, kind of, and he is more of a traditional villain, a very Earth-based threat. Upside Down Man is a cosmic threat with a capital C. So, those of you who have read his comic books know sort of what's going on here. It's very interesting. But there are some after-credit scenes. So the first one, we open on a morgue. A mortician opens up the fridge and slides out Green Arrow's body. The mortician bows. A voice says, "You may leave." He does. The camera pans around to reveal Black Canary. She caresses the cheek of Green Arrow and begins to cry. She screams, and her voice shatters many of the metal doors. Her hand clenches into a fist. We cut to the lobby of a nice building. We see Black Canary walking in and getting into an elevator. She arrives at a conference room. Sitting at the table, we see a few figures we know. Supergirl, Aquaman, John Stewart, Green Lantern, Nightwing, and Cyborg. Black Canary walks in and says, "Who did it?" Nightwing stands and says, "It was Flatline and Mirror Master with the Justice League. But there is something else you should all see. They weren't alone." CTV pulled this image. He puts up a photograph onto the projector. We see Constantine and Zatanna standing next to Mirror Master. Black Canary looks confused. "That's impossible. John Constantine is dead." Another voice says, "Stranger than that." Black Canary turns around and we see Zatanna. Zatanna says, "That's not me." And that's the end of the first scene. Obviously setting up some interesting stuff in the sequel. A real big threat for John and Zatanna to deal with. The second after credit scene is pretty simple. We see 2 gorillas walking down the street in the middle of a jungle-covered Gotham. Trees grow in the middle of buildings and vines cover everything. We see nothing but monkeys and apes moving around. One gorilla says, "Did you hear the rumor? They caught humans. 3 of them." The second gorilla says, "I thought the humans were dead." The first gorilla says, "They're supposed to be." A voice from behind says, "Excuse me, where did you hear this?" The 2 gorillas turn, and we see a chimp wearing a Sherlock Holmes hat. That's right, motherfuckers, it's Detective Chimp. The gorilla says, "It's everywhere. They're keeping them in the dungeons. Everyone knows." Detective Chimp says, "Real humans. Thank you for the information. I will use it. He turns and walks away. The two other gorillas look at him funny and then move on. We hear Detective Chimp whisper to himself under his breath, "Finally, a case to solve." Now, I mentioned in the casting a Suicide Squad video that I wasn't going to use Bruce Campbell for anything because I had a role I wanted him to play, sarcastically, like in my head canon. I think Detective Chimp should 100% be played by Bruce Campbell. I think that would be the greatest thing to ever happen in cinema. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. I'm going to go to the outro now. I did that. That was a pretty good one, right? I thought some of y'all would enjoy that. A lot of payoffs or things you weren't even expecting to have paid off. Yeah, I have been planning this one since Suicide Squad 3. As you could kind of tell with Shadow Dimension, I had set up a lot of this movie. There was a lot more set up in my brain going on. Obviously, I'm going to have those set-offs continue to pay off in the next couple Justice League Dark movies. The sequel to this will be called Justice League Dark Elseworlds, as you might have guessed from the ending. There's a lot more insanity. I've always kind of dabbled my toes into the multiverse and a lot of my stuff, DC adjacent. I've always thought it was a really cool concept, but I've always thought a lot of projects that touch on it really miss the point of the multiverse and what makes it cool. I don't intend to miss the point. The next movie will be wild. I'll put it that way. I said this movie was going to be dark. I think it is. It's all about grief. Obviously, the Dawn Spear is a metaphor for grief. The next movie is just going to be insane. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And our new antagonist, Upside Down Man, who was a guy who always just kind of caught my fancy in the comic books. I mean, look at this guy. What a creepy looking guy. So, I mean, I was given the chance to use him, and of course I took it. Yes, Detective Chimp will be in the sequel. I think Detective Chimp is one of the greatest comic characters ever conceived. Up there with the likes of Pinball Wizard, who will also make an appearance as promised in my Discord post. You guys thought I was lying about that. Pinball Wizard will be a main character. He's going to be the most important character in all of the DC universe, and that's exactly how it should be. Who knows who else we might see. Obviously, having knowledge of DC will probably help with the next movie, but it's not necessary. Mostly it's just fun action set piece stuff. But yeah, I'll have that out sooner rather than later. I've pretty much got the whole story ironed out, so we'll probably bang out Fallout and Thunderbolts before we move on to that. But I think this was a pretty fun experiment. I got to play with a lot of characters. Unfortunately, Dr. Mist will not be joining us again. He's currently a little indisposed, scattered around the multiverse as a bunch of separated pieces, which is a rough way to go out, but, he took it like a champ. Alright, that's really all I have to say. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought below. If I surprised you, let me know. I try my best. I will see y'all in the next one. Adios.